I'm Leo Bierenberg.
I'm Zach Robinson, and we're the composers for Cobra Kai.
Show picks up 34 years after the original. Johnny Lawrence, former tough guy, is pretty down on his luck now. Through a sort of wrong place, wrong time combination of like a car accident and like a parking lot fight, ends up face to face with Daniel LaRusso, and he ends up reopening the Cobra Kai Dojo.
Get your house in order, LaRusso.
Who the hell do you think you're talking to?
The tone is incredibly different than the original Karate Kid films. This isn't an ordinary sequel. This is something completely different.
It's not lame-ass karate. It's Cobra Kai.
We have 3 distinct musical worlds that we've created. Our main character, Johnny, is all about rock and roll. His most valued asset is badassery. You know, we approach scoring him the way that I like to say,
Right.
It's kind of like how he hears himself.
Right. In contrast to that is the music we have for Daniel, the hero of the original Karate Kid. It's much more associated with the teachings of Mr. Miyagi, spirituality, balance. It's more of a through thread with the score from the original movies, based it primarily in orchestra with a lot of influence from Japan, with Japanese wind instruments, string instruments, and percussion, all sort of woven together to make one palette.
Our final sound world is that of the new Cobra Kai Dojo, the new students, which we took 80s synthwave sounds and updated it to sound modern. Leo and I go way back. We've worked on things for a long time, a lot of different movies and television shows together. When we saw that Cobra Kai was a thing, we immediately thought that it was a perfect blend for both of our sensibilities and the way we work. I know that we've been looking to find a score where we could just have total merciless guitar shredding, which we were definitely able to do. My favorite scene would have to be Miguel's training montage in the beginning of episode 5. It's a training montage,
Oh, yeah.
and how could you not be excited about scoring a training montage for the Karate Kid?
We went into our first meeting for this show, and like we're basically like, so we get to do training montages, right? And they were like, yes,
Plenty.
done. My favorite scene is in the finale, and it's actually a much smaller, quieter cue.
You remember to focus.
After being injured, there's a moment in the locker room that's very reminiscent from the original movies where Daniel is talking to Robbie.
Sorry, I lied to you, Mr. LaRusso. I just wanted to get back at him.
It's one of those quiet moments that's very big in scope and just talking about Robbie's relationship with his father and the demons that tortured Johnny, and for me that's just a really powerful scene. For our finale, we hired an orchestra in Prague. It was a 70-piece orchestra.
The final episode is so epic in scope. The orchestra was the only option to accomplish anything that would tell the story.
First of all, it makes it feel much more in line with the original movies, which had these sweeping scores. And so we wanted that same energy, we wanted that same kind of organic connection you get in the storytelling. And so for the finale, it was super exciting for us to be able to do that.
The thing about Karate Kid is that people hold it in such high regard, and it's a privilege for us as composers to be able to contribute to something that brings joy and excitement to millions of people.
Everybody knows these characters. Everybody knows this setting. Everybody knows strike first, no mercy,
Sweep the leg.
Sweep the leg.
And for us to be able to score that, sweeping the leg, unreal.
There are a lot of Easter eggs.
All the power. Yeah. You're always looking for those opportunities to maybe bring a little something from the past.
The whole thing could be a giant Easter omelet.
if they're going to do a nod to one of the previous films, it's right and it feels natural.
If you're a true Karate Kid fan, you'll definitely see so many things.
Anytime there's an item or something of importance that's brought up in one of the original Karate Kid movies, we've clocked that and we're thinking about that. The little drum that Robbie's playing with, you know, comes from Karate Kid Part 2, where the banners.
Karate is for defense only.
Rule number 2. Fast run rule number 1.
The headband, that's the original headband from that movie that Ralph has kept all these years. We have footage that's never been seen before, and we got that from the cutting room floor, and we're able to look at that fight from Johnny's perspective a little bit. It really helps set the mood. You're in the sacred church of Karate Kid now, so don't get it wrong. Another Easter egg was the shrine in Mr. Miyagi's house that, you know, Daniel has put everything back up the way he remembered it. There's an apple and an orange up on pedestals.
And when I first walked in, I was like, why is there an orange and an apple? It was actually in Mr. Miyagi's house. There was an orange and an apple.
It's unclear why they were in the movie. Was it something Miyagi just put his fruit out there to remember to eat it? Or did a production designer put it there because it just looked like a splash of color? But for better or worse, there's an apple and an orange there.
We wanted to bring back that classic training from the original films, but find fresh and different ways to do it. The first time you see sort of Johnny putting Miguel to work in the dojo.
Hey, Sensei, is there any particular way you want me to wash his windows?
Nah, I don't give a shit.
He doesn't care at all.
Just go clean the toilet and we'll call it a night.
But on the flip side, we also loved when we had Daniel training Robbie.
It never hit me until I got on set and they called Ralph over, and Ralph comes over and he's like, yeah, I got this. Here, this is how you do it. And I went, yeah, the Karate Kids teach me how to wax on and wax off. The big thing from the movie, you know? So that was kind of the cool moment.
You know, I got a little bit of a lump in my throat, passing on some of those lessons and legacy to our current cast. It's awesome.
Another Easter egg is that Ralph actually got to keep Miyagi's truck.
That's the original car from the movie. It was gifted to Ralph after the movies.
Whoa.
And it was loaned to us for production.
Oh, yeah.
Me and Mary and Ralph actually got to drive in the car down the Pacific Coast Highway. That was really, really cool.
Right before we took off, we look over and there was an entire karate class practicing karate on the beach, and I'm like screaming to them, I'm like, the Karate Kid is right here in the yellow car. Do you realize what you're experiencing? It was really cool.
Rumor has it, he's actually going to be giving me the car for my 20th birthday. You know, shout out to you, Ralph. You're a great guy. Thank you so much.
We'll see about that.
Golf and stuff is one of my favorite Easter eggs. First, there's the sign. We didn't actually film the sign again. We actually used the footage from the original Karate Kid movie and comped that same sign in at a location in Atlanta. We went out of our way to look at what games Daniel and Allie were playing on their date so that when Samantha and Miguel are on their not a date, they'd be playing the same games. They had an experience with a photo booth. It's really fun when you look back and you watch both dates back to back and you realize just how much overlap there is.
Well, it's so cool when Tori meets Miguel. It's kind of mirroring the Karate Kid.
Hey, you got a name? Allie, with an I.
We had dinner one night with Robert Mark Kamen, the writer of the original Karate Kid films. And he told us that one of his daughters is named Allie with an I. And that's where he got the name Allie from. So he has another daughter, Tori with a Y, in honor of him and sort of all that he brought to this franchise. And we wrote into the scene where she actually says Tori with a Y.
Her name's Miguel.
Tori. With a Y. So it's kind of paying homage to the movie.
Valley Fest. You know, Daniel's putting on this big presentation. What could be his finale?
Nah, don't worry about the finale. I got it covered.
Daniel's big finale is going to be breaking the ice, which is just a callback from Karate Kid 2.
But we knew when writing it that he would never get to break the ice because Cobra Kai was going to come in.
Of course, Johnny upstages him.
It's one of those examples of sort of having something from the past but trying to show it in a different way. It's one of my favorite moments on the show Daniel is just so crushed, and you just see the ice melting as Cobra Kai's, badass music is playing over it and ringing out.
Thanks for watching the Easter egg hunt. As much as we can help the actors be put in a situation where it's taking them back and they're feeling it in an earnest way, that's the stuff that makes the show.
I like that.
I like that.
Face each other, bow.
All our fights on our show are our babies.
Fighting positions.
Everybody has like their shining moment.
It is the craziest thing I've ever done.
With the fight scenes, you feel that excitement.
And it's a lot of fun.
The stunt choreographers on the show are incredible. Hito Koda, Janelle Kerfman.
They're actually husband and wife, and they're a great team. They train us when we're there.
I saw your little demo at Valley Fest. You guys can put on a show. Can you actually fight?
That sounds like a challenge.
I like a challenge.
Hayden, Josh, and I have not taken any karate in our lives. So they are the karate translators. They teach a different form of martial arts to the different characters based on what dojo they're in. Each character has their own sort of style of fighting, and that's all because of Hiro and Janelle.
And they work us really hard to try and get everything down perfectly. They train us so hard because they want us to do all the stunts as much as we possibly can. They're absolutely incredible.
Season 1, you got to see Hiro actually as the lead ref at the tournament. And Janelle you see as a stunt performer on the show. She's Tori's stunt double. Most of the kids on the show didn't know a lick of karate, and now they get frustrated when we have to use a stunt double. They want to do their own thing, and they have such inspiring teachers in Hiro and Janelle.
It was really cool being able to work with them because in the first season I had seen them working with the other actors and I was like, oh, I want to do that. And so in the second season I finally got to do that, and they are honestly just an amazing team. They make the show. They're so good at getting you prepared and making you look good for those big scenes where you just have to like do all these crazy kicks. Honestly, I couldn't do it without them.
Finally, we're the opponent.
My favorite is the fight against Jacob, who plays Hawk, in the woods. That one was the one that we really tried to make so awesome.
The Woods fight was amazing. We knew a Hawk versus Miguel fight late in the season would just carry a lot of stakes and carry a lot of weight. So it's one of these fights that you get to do where it's born out of a game, but it goes a little bit too far. And just the fact that they're throwing each other from the trees and they're they're tumbling and then everything in the woods for real was just amazing to shoot and amazing to see come together.
Is that all you got?
Our stunt doubles will have shot a video of themselves doing it, and they're kind of like showing us like step by step what we're doing, and then once we learn all the moves, we'll run through it all the way time, like really slow. Ladies first. We do that a couple times until we can work it up to speed. Most of the time, there usually be one or two very technical things that our stunt doubles may have to do. There's this roll a Sholo stunt double does with Chris, my stunt double. That's just this really technical thing you could get really hurt on if you don't know what you're doing.
It looks so awesome, and I would do it again in a heartbeat.
That's all I've got.
I loved the mall fight because of the way that it coordinated with our balance board technique.
We worked on that kata forever.
Drilling it over and over again so that literally when our backs were turned, we still knew what the other person was doing. It was just like we were learning the real wheel technique. Also, I got to get on a wire that day and come flying in with this crazy kick and like throw down Khalil's character. It was so cool. Get back. You guys need to back off.
But really nothing tops the school fight at the end of season 2. That was a whole different animal for everybody on set. And the stunt team was phenomenal. The actors gave their all.
That high school fight is just a tour de force.
We knew with season 2 we had to find a way to have a big fighting climax, and we didn't want to do a tournament again. We knew we wanted this all-out brawl, like a West Side Story, but present day between Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do.
For that scene specifically, we went to that school a weekend beforehand, and we were there for 4 to 6 hours just working that whole fight scene, Hito brought his camera with like a little Ronin stabilizer and was just like running through as if he was a Steadicam, and we were working out on the beach, watching it over, picking out parts that we could work better on.
We had written into that fight a one-er shot, which involved like 4 or 5 characters fighting, and Hiro was like, I can add a bunch of other characters fighting, let's make this even bigger.
To make that really work, you had to care about the micro fights within the macro fight. Just to make it feel that this rivalry that started between 2 guys in the 80s has trickled down now to the present day.
It was definitely at least 30 people that were fighting, and it's amazing that nobody messed up. We didn't cut, we didn't break. It was just one long shot, which is super epic.
Which was insane. We did it like 6 times.
It's 83 seconds long. You just have to follow the camera. There's so many moving parts.
It's pretty hard to notice, but there's a lot of like stunt double switches in that one take.
I had to change out with my stunt double because she has to do this somersault roll with Mary, and the fact that the camera turns, I run out, she runs in, gets back, they do the move. It felt like live theater, so I had to come in and change with her and come up and just have this look, and inside I'm panicking, but it all worked out.
All these things that went into that, like that whole experience, I think it was like after we finished that, it was bonding.
As soon as we finally got it, they said cut, we got it, and everyone just had a bunch of fun and started yelling.
It's fun to see like grown men just freaking out that we got it.
And for Hito and Janelle to come up with that, it was absolutely incredible.
When we write a fight, we are really writing it from a story perspective.
Bring it.
We try to tell that story on the page in terms of the beats and the organization, and then we give that to Hito and Janelle.
And without them, the show would not be even close to what it is.
Fighting positions. Jab punch. No, wait till I say go. Wow. Yeah.
We wanted to do a show that explores the difference between the 2 generations, an old school way of thinking and a new way of thinking. It allows for us to explore all of the characters. You get to explore the 2 rivals from the original film.
Congratulations, Johnny.
But now we have their families, the people that they work with, and a whole new generation of Karate Kids that we get to dig in deep with.
Johnny is an archetype that we can all relate to. He is the guy from your high school who peaked, and he's kind of lost present day.
He still has all the programming that was programmed into him as a younger man, but he's trying to undo those and work them out.
Cobra Kai's back, baby.
It's fun to play. It's also painful to play, too.
Billy is a massively talented actor, and the world finally gets to see all the different layers that he has, and he puts his heart and soul into everything he does.
This is a guy whose ass you kicked. Listen, it was a really close match, but I kicked his face. I'm just busting your chops.
It was an illegal kick.
What's interesting and I find so ironic is Johnny Lawrence coming back into LaRusso's life, which is kind of his worst nightmare at the time. You know, this is ridiculous. You want to go now? Come on, Johnny. Actually becomes something that helps him find his own balance as an adult in his midlife days.
Daniel's story kind of ended with a happily ever after in the movies. So we wanted to honor that. So when we meet with Daniel present day, his life is good. He has a beautiful wife, beautiful kids, he's got a great business.
As martial arts has come back into his life, it's drawn some of his attention away from his family and maybe away from his business. I'm enjoying playing all those levels. Okay, how do I balance all of this? And it's a lot of fun.
Welcome to Cobra Kai.
Some things never change. This is where I shot my first scene on the Cobra Kai series. And it was the end of episode 2 when I come in and confront Johnny Lawrence and hear that he's opening up this Cobra Kai.
Get your house in order, LaRusso.
Who the hell do you think you're talking to?
It was an amazing day.
The Daniel LaRusso that lives in him and the Johnny and Lawrence that lives in me, he came alive, and there was this kind of electricity between us pushing each other away.
It was a big scene. It was the first scene together. You know, a little more wrinkles around both of our eyes, but as soon as we locked in, it was beyond my expectations of how well it came together.
You and I, we aren't done.
It was great. We got off the set that day. We're like, hey man, it's on, you know.
Cobra Kai isn't just about karate. It's about a way of life. Take that first lesson.
What I really enjoy about the show is that there's a lot of gray areas, and it's not really like a good guy and a bad guy, where at the end of the season, at the end of the first season, you really root for both Robbie and Miguel, Johnny and Daniel.
You have to fight dirty.
Dirty? There's nothing dirty about winning, Sensei. You taught me that. Season 2, he learns over the course of the season to become more vulnerable, I feel like, and really separate himself and learn that this is something that you use in your life, but also it can make you a jerk. So sometimes there is mercy that needs to be shown.
Wait! There's no honor in being merciless.
The moment we saw Sholo's audition, we knew he was Miguel. Working with him every day is a pleasure.
Hey! Who's this guy?
This is Robbie. He works with my dad.
Robbie Keane is a troubled kid who has had a rough life because his father was never there for him, and his mother has all sorts of trouble in her own life. And through his interactions with Daniel Russo, is trying to come out better on the other side.
I think starting with season 2, you know, he's still that good kid, but as the season goes on, you realize that he still has that fire inside of him because his dad's still not there.
Hey, you don't know Mr. LaRusso. He is a better man than you will ever be.
But I think ultimately he knows what's the right thing to do in his heart and his mind. And that's kind of explained when he talks to his dad in the car.
All I'm saying is maybe you guys can learn a thing or two from each other.
Tanner is great. He's on set, he's behind the camera, he's asking questions. He just wants to learn so much, and you think he's done a fantastic job on the show, playing both sort of that renegade kid to a kid who's able to turn over a new leaf.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I mean, you gotta understand, I've been in a bad situation for a long time, and
Samantha LaRusso is a daddy's girl. She and Daniel have an amazing relationship. She learned karate at a young age and has recently taken it back up.
She kind of morphed over the last 2 seasons. She started in season 1 as a girl who was kind of trying to find her place and where she fit in high school. And then kind of over the last season and then over season 2, she started to kind of find herself through karate. So now she's, I like to consider her the karate princess.
Gotta check your ID first.
Do you really think I'm underage? It's my freaking kid right there.
Hawk is one of my favorite characters in the whole show just because he goes through this 180 arc.
Lip, look, even Lip's tougher than those guys. He's no quitter.
Could you please not call me that? That's sort of where it starts. He gets that influence from Johnny and, you know, the way of the fist, for better or for worse. Hawk gets bred out of that ideology. I'm flipping the script.
The moment he put on that mohawk, he unleashed a beast that we're hoping will one day be able to be contained.
I did a little bit of karate growing up in a strip mall next to a grocery store, so it was pretty legit. This is definitely one of the most fun roles I've had just because of how physically demanding it is.
No hard feelings.
No mercy.
When we meet Tori, it's a room full of guys, and Johnny asks the entire dojo, and he goes, who has the balls to take on the champ? I'll take him on. And that's how you meet my character. So I say that you do see the softer side, and you see the connection that she makes with Miguel, and she starts to have a crush on him, and you start to see this more vulnerable side, and she opens up, and I don't think she does that with a lot of people at all. Samantha LaRusso, you know what you did, and now you're gonna pay for it.
When I think about her performance, I really think about the finale of season 2. The moment she grabs that microphone, how scary she is in threatening Samantha, and that fight, you would not have guessed that, you know, a month and a half earlier, she didn't know any karate.
I did not have any martial arts training before, so I really had to learn so much coming into this show.
Point!
Hit him again.
We knew that there was no way to do a show called Cobra Kai without Kreese.
Do you have a problem with that?
With season 2, we have the challenge of how do you take this black as night Darth Vader and make him this 3-dimensional character like all the other characters on our show.
I realized that I was too hard on you. You were young, and I went overboard.
30 years later, he realizes his mistakes. He loves Johnny Lawrence, and Johnny Lawrence is a product of what John Kreese was. There's no question about it. I was his father image, and I destroyed that after he lost in Karate Kid 1.
Now who's a loser? You know, you're really sick, man.
And the fact that Johnny opened Cobra Kai, for him was an opening. And you see that in the first episode. So right off the bat, you're saying, okay, this guy has some heart.
It may say second place, but in my opinion, you were always the better fighter.
And as the show goes on, you'll see more and more of that.
This isn't a tournament. There are no rules.
We ended season 2. We basically blew up our own show, and we're starting anew, and our characters have to figure out, how do you respond when you've been trying to do the right thing and the results are horrible? How do you respond to that? And we'll get to see that in season 3.
Cobra Kai is not a hobby.
All the themes of mentorship and bullying and growing up, all those themes from the Karate Kid are just as alive now as they were then.
In Cobra Kai, we try to show you that everyone is the hero of their own story.
Cobra Kai's making a difference in these kids' lives. And honestly, they're making a difference in mine as well.